politics, and other stuff maybe. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
If you were one of those people who was on social media or whatever saying that there's no way President Trump is going to get impeached, they're not going to do that. That'll never happen or whatever like that. Or if you were one of those people who were thinking that as soon as Nancy Pelosi gavels down those articles of impeachment, he is no longer president. He is forever out of your life and whatever. I'm guessing Wednesday was quite a shock and a surprise for you.
This is Trend Chat with Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I am your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Did I say Twitter? I'm forgetting them. I keep adding one, seems like every week. But yeah, all of it is at Trend Chat 24/7. And we're available on trendchat247.com. Also, most popular podcast outlets, your Google Plays, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify, your Stitcher. Well, no, we're not on Stitcher actually. I don't know, maybe we are by now. I don't know. iHeartRadio. Yeah. Just check us out on there. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And first off, just want to say thank you to odgapparel.com. You get a lot of stylish Christian apparel, whether it's shirts, mugs. Like I have the Stop Being Dead hoodie, not the hoodie. Well, I had the long sleeve and also the shirt and all that. When I was on Blaze TV with Chad Prather, I was wearing that shirt, the Stop Being Dead. That was from odgapparel.com. If you go to odgapparel.com, put in the code TC, like Trend Chat, TC10, you get 10% off on there. Also, 1776united.com as well. I appreciate them too, as far as having very stylish patriotic gear. And again, just like mugs, hats, shirts, hoodies, etc. It goes on and on. Check them out, 1776united.com. Put in the code TRENDCHAT. You get 20% off. So check them two out. Before I want to get that in there, just want to say this is the last episode of 2019. We'll be back next year with I tell you right now, we've already done a number of candidate interviews that are going to be posted all throughout January and probably into February. And so I appreciate all the candidates that I've talked to so far, that I'm going to talk to soon. And so we'll be posting all of that. And I don't know if I want to say this because right now we're kind of full. I don't know what I was thinking when I was of doing this. So I may have to change the format and how I was going to do all these candidates. But, I guess I'll say it anyway. If you want someone to come on Trend Chat for a candidate interview, hit us up on Messenger across all those social media accounts. Like I said, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, all of that at Trend Chat 24/7. It's all the same name. And so, yeah, like I said, as of right now, we're getting to the point where it'll be going into February, and it may be both months, maybe January and February. I don't know. But that's next year. This is the last episode of 2019. And so we'll have Leyla Pirnie with us, and we'll talk about videos she did recently, and also just in being a Second Amendment advocate, and also what we didn't get into because it's something we found out after the interview, but she is also the Texas State Chair for Empowered 2A. And so that, if you don't know about Empowered, we've had Antonio Okafor on numerous times. And so she's now the Texas State Chair for Empowered. And so we'll talk with her later on. But first, as I mentioned in the intro about impeachment, I know I said during a couple of episodes ago that I wasn't going to talk much about it until, I said I'll mention when it actually goes through, which I knew it would. And it did. So this past Wednesday, the 19th, not 19th, that was the 18th. Sorry, my time, my dates run together. Being a truck driver, you really don't have like a really frame of time. Like you don't have weekends. You just on the road. You just have days off. It's not really a weekend because it could be during the week or on the weekend. Anyway, that being said, days run together. So yeah, on the 18th, that when the two articles of impeachment for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress were voted, and the Democrat majority House, all the Democrats, well, not all of them, actually 2 voted against it, and against one of them, and 3 voted against the other. I forgot which one is which, but yeah, so it wasn't all Democrats, it was the majority. It was enough, put it that way. It was enough to get it passed. So it's not like they cared much about 1 or 2 people not voting for it. And that was one thing where if there were any bit of hope that this impeachment would not happen, is that it would come down to those Democrats that are in districts that the president won in 2016, that those particular representatives may be a little not nearly as committed as the rest, because they know of the district that they won in. But either way, it passed. And like I said, it wasn't no shock to me. I'm pretty sure to people who were, as I mentioned in the beginning, I don't know how many people would study saying, they just kept saying that, oh, in no way Trump is going to get impeached. No, that's not going to happen. Like, do you not understand the makeup of the House and how this works? And on the other side, because like I posted on Facebook recently on my personal page, it's like everyone all of a sudden figured out how impeachment works. Whether it's, Republicans or conservatives or whatever, the ones who were studied saying that, well, it's not going to happen, he's not going to get impeached, and kept saying and voting in polls in high numbers when you ask if President Trump is going to get impeached, it'll be like overwhelming saying no. Like, you do know who is in the majority in the House and how that's probably going to work anyway. And then you have the flip side where you had those Democrats and liberals out there who were thinking as soon as impeachment goes through, he is no longer president. Like, apparently, you don't know how that works either. So to those groups of people, it was like they got a real quick lesson on impeachment. So look, this is history, one way or another, because this is the 3rd president who has been impeached by the House. So it is history making. It's a historic day. So even though you've pretty much knew the outcome of it, I would say as soon as they started talking about drawing up articles of impeachment, that was it. All these hearings that they did the past couple of weeks were just theater. That's all it was, just to get to this point. So one thing I would say is that I feel like, one, the bar has been lowered tremendously as far as any impeachments. The precedent has been set now by Democrats for, I would say, more frequent impeachments, because I would not be surprised we have another impeachment a lot sooner than we had since Clinton and to now. I wouldn't be surprised there'll be another one, especially if Republicans take over in the House and you have a Democrat president. wouldn't shock me one bit. We have an impeachment, or at least try to have an impeachment, because there is one thing you have to consider. That is the media and how it will be, and how this will be reported, and how it will be viewed to the public, at least how the mainstream media will. So if you flip this around, if Republicans are in control of the House and you have a Democrat president, and Republicans try to bring up articles of impeachment, for whether it's valid or not, the media will not be on their side, unlike how they were for the Democrats in the House to impeach Trump. So that's one factor you have to play in. How much resolve will the Republicans have to dismiss, to just not pay attention to the media that is going to be actively against and actively reporting against impeachment of whoever the Democrat president will be. And so that's one thing to figure out in the future. But nevertheless, I think there's going to be, if not more, I guess an actual impeachment, there definitely is going to be more are going to try, put it that way. It's going to be proposed. They may get voted down or whatever, or they may not go through with it all the way like they did now. The Democrats just did. But I think that is going to come up a lot more. And I think from that's going to diminish the weight of impeachment. If we keep going down this road, every couple of years, there's always this impeachment of whoever it is, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. It's going just to water down what impeachment means and why you were even going to impeach a president. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's going to be more coming up, and it wouldn't shock me at all. And that's the precedent that was set on Wednesday. I don't know how many people will think of that. Now, also, just want to let you know, in the middle of all of this, the impeachment talk, the hearings and all that, maybe you didn't know about this, and I'm pretty sure they didn't want you to know. But in the midst of all of this impeachment, the Congress just passed another $1 trillion spending bill. Yep. In case you didn't know, that happened too. All the other stuff with impeachment were going on. Everybody focused on that. And then this huge $1 trillion spending bill just slipped right under the radar. So, but as you can tell, this will probably be this is going to be the most, because then we're going to go into the trial, which I'm just now hearing that Nancy Pelosi is not, I guess, sending those articles of impeachment to the Senate. Seems like they're stalling, or feel like they don't want to do it right now for some reason. And I have my reasons as to why. But before we get to that, let's hear a word from our friends with the Founding Project, and we will get to a little bit of what I suspect is going on.
This is Dana Lash, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
Hello, Trend Chat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with the Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
This is Trend Chat.
All right, so now that the House have voted on articles of impeachment. Now it goes to the Senate. And as I mentioned before, that it seems like the Democrats are wanting to delay sending those articles to the Senate. So as a off the top of my head, because I just heard this news maybe an hour or so before we started recording, and I'm thinking that they maybe are wanting to hold off a little bit, maybe to give the Democrat, presidential candidates in the Senate, maybe they want to delay it at least to get past the Iowa caucus so they can have time to go to Iowa and campaign. I mean, that's just the first thing that came across my mind. Then I thought, they're not trying to delay this all the way through next year, right? That they're not even going to send it at all. That they're just going to hold on to it and try to make it seem like, well, we should wait until the public decide in 2020 as far as senators and try to use this as a campaign point to maybe switch the Senate in the chance in their mind that President Trump wins re-election. And so if they use this and hold on to it throughout the year, I don't know. All this is off the top of my head. I don't even know how long you can hold on to this. Maybe there's a time limit. I mean, I don't have all the rules in my head, and also I don't have anyone on to talk about it right now. But it's just me talking. But if they could hold on to it throughout the 2020 and try to use that to try to get whoever try to flip the Senate, and in case, president gets reelected, then they'll if they flip the Senate, then they send the articles over, and then it goes through the trial, and then the possibility of him being removed from office is high if the Democrats are in control of the Senate. I don't know. I have no clue. The last couple of sentences I just said probably are nonsense if the people who know and then maybe listening like, that's not even possible. So yeah, I'm not even gonna go too far with that, because I am literally just going off the top of my head. But one thing I do think that should happen, at least, and I don't think it's going to, but I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and just about this whole impeachment, that is, we know it's going to happen and whatever. And what I would want the president to come out and in the next couple of days hold a big press conference and talk about the impeachment or whatever, but also at the end of it said something to the effect of, in the coming year, in 2020, we're going to be focused on re-election, obviously, in our campaign, but we're also going to be focusing on two other issues. We're going to put all of our focus on illegal immigration, whether, continue building the border, funding for ICE and funding for national security and all that, border security and all of that. We're going to focus everything on that this year. And also, we are going to open investigations on Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. We are going to focus all our energy on those two things for 2020. It will be like a slogan of investigation and immigration or something like that. That's something I would, want to see. I have no clue. That's just something I was talking to with a friend of mine, and I was thinking that, that's something I would think of. I mean, that would rile up the base. I know that much. And on two fronts, you'll be focusing on illegal immigration and also on Hillary Clinton and investigation and all that. Yeah, that'll get get the supporters behind you. Yeah, but that's but that's just me. Who knows? Again, this going into 2020 and the campaigns for Democrats and with the president and all that. So we'll see. 2020 is going to be crazy. And funny thing, just found out a couple of days ago that President Trump is going to be speaking at the Student Action Summit for Turning Point USA. And the reason I mentioned that is because we talked about that with Leyla Pirnie, who is going to be joining us coming up. And also, in just talking about SAS and thinking about CPAC coming up every year, we go up to DC for CPAC, and I think 2020 CPAC is going to be huge. It's already big, but I think it's going to be a lot more focused. It's going to be people who are fired up and wanting to get ready for the campaign and really get out there and all of that. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to going there. And we think this may be the last time, well, at least consecutively, that we're going. We may not go in 2021. It also just depends. If you've been listening to the podcast, we're doing this for another year or so. And so we'll see where we're at the end of 2020. And so everything is kind of like, we're just really focused on 2020. And after that, we'll see we're thinking about other opportunities that may be presented to us. We don't know. We just don't know. Things are kind of up in the air, at least in the first couple of months. By the time we get to the middle of 2020, we'll probably know what's going to happen, whether we're continuing or not. So, yeah. So, just stay tuned for all that. And before we get to our interview with Leyla, we're going to hear a word from the Politichicks, and after that, we'll have our interview with Leyla. Hello, this is Brian Bledsoe, host of Trend Chat, also contributor at Politichicks.com. Here to tell you about the new book called Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, with over 300 pages from contributors like myself, talking about topics such as education, social issues, healthcare, the Second Amendment, and of course, activism. I encourage you all to check it out at Politichicks.com, and is also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Hey, this is Benny Johnson. You're listening to Trend Chat with Brian Bledsoe, the best beard in the business.
Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are very pleased to have Leyla Pirnie with us. She is a Second Amendment advocate, and we wanted to bring her on because we saw her on one of the latest videos for Turning Point USA's 180 series, which, if you haven't seen, are great videos that, as the title says, give you 180 seconds to discuss a particular topic. And for Leyla, she was talking about, as I mentioned in her introduction, that being a Second Amendment advocate. And I'm going to ask about that and some other things as well. So how you doing, Leyla?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so first off, just let everyone know a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know me personally, we never met yet, but I've heard your name before, and so I don't know the full story or some of the story. So let everyone know.
Sure. So right now I'm a graduate student at Harvard, and I was living in Boston with 6 other girls, and essentially when I went home for a weekend, they searched my bedroom and found out that I had guns, legally owned guns, and they were not okay with that. So they reported me to my landlord, and even though everything was legal and safe, my landlord said that I either need to move out immediately or pay him $6,000 plus a month in rent. So it was basically just an infringement on my rights because everything was legal and safe. There was nothing in our contract that said anything about guns. And ever since then, I've just been so engrossed in what's happening in the U.S. and and how people are handling Second Amendment and how people are so opposed to it that they really don't know what they're talking about when it comes to these issues.
So why 600? What was $6,000? How much you said it was?
Yeah, $6,000.
$6,000. Okay. And why?
Because they said that if I were to stay with the guns in the house and the girls didn't feel comfortable, my roommates didn't feel comfortable, then they could move out free of charge and I would have to continue paying their rent.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy in Boston, but just goes to show that.
And so that charge was to cover their rent because they left because they're the ones afraid of a firearm.
Well, they threatened to leave. So yeah, when they threatened to leave, my landlord said, well, I don't care that this is legal and safe. People feel uncomfortable, so you've got to be the one to go.
Okay. He doesn't care. Didn't care that it is legal and that you have them legally. He still is going to charge you that money. Wow.
Exactly.
So what happened after all this? I mean, did you fight it or what happened?
Definitely. We're actually proceeding with a lawsuit right now.
Oh, okay.
Against 4 of my roommates, the ones that searched my bedroom and found my guns, and then also against my landlord. Just because we've got to tell people that you can't search people's private property if you just simply disagree with anything about them. You can't just go through somebody's personal belongings because you might not agree. They didn't even know that I had guns at the time, so it's just insane.
So, given that you already had guns on you, I'm guessing you were already at least pro-gun in some way. So I just want to ask, so I guess what motivated you to, just exercise your right, to bear arms, but was this the situation that made you more of an advocate for the Second Amendment?
Oh, well, I've always been pro-gun. I wasn't really somebody who concealed carried until I had an instance happen where I thought I've really got to start taking care of myself and watching my surroundings more and understanding that there are so many threats out there that we really don't even realize. So when I was in college, I was unfortunately in an abusive relationship, and that kind of made me start thinking, okay, this is the point in my life where I'm either going to decide to make smart decisions and protect myself, or I am going to be a victim. So I chose the first, and then another incident happened where I was leaving a Walmart late at night, and this guy approached me, and fortunately I had my gun on me at the time, so nothing came of it, but it just, from those 2 instances, I thought this is something I always have to keep on my person at all times, no matter what.
Now, given that, you was up at Harvard where this happened, and so I'm just want to ask, so how difficult is it to carry in that area? I'm guessing maybe it was easy, but I'm just guessing it's not as easy as it is down here in Texas.
No, definitely not. I had several months long of a wait to be able to even have my preliminary interview to get my license. So it's definitely not as easy, but it's also not as hard as people make it out to be. Because after all, this is a right that we can't be denied. So I think that they give you this waiting game and they put into place all these different things that you have to do maybe to deter you from going forward with the process. But all in all, if you're a good citizen and you take the proper classes and you know what you're doing, you have knowledge of gun safety, and you don't pose a threat to anybody, then this is a right that should be guaranteed for everybody.
Yeah, I will say a lot of these, especially the more liberal states, want to put as many obstacles in your way to, as you said, deter you from wanting to, to have a firearm. And I know a lot of it they can cover that under like the veil of, well, we're just trying to be thorough and safe. But I feel like it's more intentional to try to deter people from actually carrying or even want to go down the route by, as you say, to make you wait for months or even add all sorts of crazy fees and whatever to pay. And so, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not good for people that do need it in situations of, say, domestic abuse or or just really needing that personal safety measure right away. It's kind of denying that for people that really do need it. So, not good.
And it also really hurts the people who are not able to, one, have the financial means and to pay some of these fines that they levy on people, as well as the time that it takes. And so a lot of these people, the people that are hurt are the ones with the low income areas where, they don't have a lot of time and money to be, going through all that, but yet in a lot of places they need it more than most. And so I don't think,
I totally agree. And I think that's how, illegal gun ownership comes into play, because we make it so much more convenient for people to get these guns off the street, and we make it so much more cheap and affordable in that way. So it kind of makes people think, okay, well, I'll just get this the easier, quick, fast, cheap way, instead of going through all the paperwork and, getting verified on everything and having people look into my private life so that they can make this decision to see if I'm fit enough to have my Second Amendment right.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, I mean, it's, especially in particular states and like the more liberal states, that's just something, the people really have to understand and know that they really need to stand up for their rights. But, from that, I know I saw, as I mentioned earlier, about your video on Turning Point USA's 180 series. And I wanted to, it's funny because, before when I had you to come on, at the time of this recording, I just found out as far as my podcast page on Facebook has been blocked again, for, as they say, sharing too much content from other sources, which, I mean, I guess then to break that down, they're saying that I'm sharing too much content from other pages. And now, even though, the video, I've only shared one video from the 180 series, which is yours, to say that you were going to be on the podcast. That's the only one I shared. But for that,
wow.
Facebook felt like, well, you're sharing too much content, so one is too much, I'm guessing, because I haven't shared anything else.
Too much content that's conservative. See, if you were to share a video from CNN or MSNBC, you'd be totally fine.
Yeah, I know. And like I said, this is the second time, so hopefully we'll see what happens by the time this airs. Maybe it has cleared up, but who knows? Last time it was almost 3 weeks, so I don't know how long it's going to be this time. We'll find out. But well, I wanted to ask. So, how did you get on to making this video for Turning Point?
So, Turning Point brought me on as an ambassador about 6-7 months ago, right after my story had aired on Fox News, and they've been amazing ever since. Basically, they told us that if we had something that we wanted to teach people about or anything that we wanted to educate people about, then we should come up with different facts that support our arguments and articulate them in a way that is going to be really quick. You get it in 180 seconds, and it's just understandable. It breaks down a whole bunch of arguments that the left tries to manipulate. And so I obviously was very keen on talking about the Second Amendment and why we cannot just question the veracity and just the ability for us to be able to have these guns.
Yeah. And I know when I saw your video and it was, like I said, that was my first time because I didn't know about the story, that happened, with you in Harvard. And so, and from that I was saying like, well, let's see if we can get her on the podcast. And so now the whole 180 series, I guess for people that don't know about it, so, I guess let them know as far as, like I said, just 180 seconds, and then they just talk about different issues, whether it is the Second Amendment or abortion or something like that. I guess tell people a little more as far as that particular series.
Sure. It's super cool because it really gives individual people the ability to have a platform and tell their side of the story and have them support what they believe to be true through factual evidence. It's nothing that Turning Point pushes on anybody. They really just let us have creative freedom and our ability to have these arguments and these really real conversations. So it's really cool. It's just very quick to the point, and it's all research backed. So, I mean, everything that is in those videos has been verified by tons of people at Turning Point, and obviously through us, the people that are coming up with our arguments and our facts and researching into all of it. So you can trust that it's factual, and it's basically just saying, hey, here are the basic facts that you should know if you're arguing against this issue or you're arguing for this issue. It's just good stuff to have in your back pocket whenever these issues do come up.
Yeah, and speaking of Turning Point, I've spoken with Lacey Williams in a previous episode about the Student Action Summit coming up, and as I'm guessing you're going to be attending as well.
I am. It's going to be the best time ever. I haven't been to SAS before, but I have been to the Young Women's Leadership Summit, TSAS, and a couple other events through Turning Point, and everybody always says that SAS is the most fun time, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so who else going to be speaking in that SAS? I mean, I've seen the lineup. I saw Ben Shapiro going to be at the leadership ball, and I mean, it's a who's who of going to be speaking, and it's for 3 days. Am I correct?
3 days, 19th to the 22nd. So
okay.
Maybe, is that like 4 days, right? Well, I think it's just a half day on the 22nd. But yeah, Turning Point is really incredible at getting the best of the best speakers. I mean, it's like you said, it's always a who's who. 'Cause we have like Kimberly Guilfoyle and, like you said, Ben Shapiro, Laura Ingraham, Dan Crenshaw, Ted Cruz. I mean, it's an amazing lineup for sure. And it honestly is like going to a concert, which is kind of funny. But when we were at the TSAS and Donald Trump was there, it was really hilarious because everybody was lined up the night before to hear him speak. So it really, really is like going to a concert.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of events where President Trump has spoke, whether it's CPAC or the NRA, and yeah, you have the people that are there the day before, just sitting right in front of the door, right? To make sure that they're one of the first to be in. So yeah, I know exactly how that scene looks. So, and one thing I wanted to ask now, SAS, which stands for Student Action Summit. So, is it just for students? Can old people like me come?
Oh my gosh, anybody can come, but the premise of it is to get younger generations involved and excited about what's happening in politics, but really anybody is welcome to join, and it's just a good time for all, and it's a really good opportunity to just learn, honestly. So yeah, everybody's welcome.
Okay, and if people want to know about it, and I know at this time when you're hearing this, they'll probably be going on, so maybe people can't fly straight down there now, but if people want to find out about SAS or about Turning Point and want to connect with you, where would they go on social media and all that jazz?
Yeah, definitely I'd say follow Turning Point USA on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. They do a whole bunch of live streaming on there. They also post videos of Charlie Kirk just destroying people in arguments, which is sometimes the highlight of my day. But also just to be able to see the events that are coming up, I'd say check back on the website frequently, just so you can have that in your calendar, because there's so much coming up. I mean, they've already started planning things for next year's Young Women's Leadership Summit, so it's really, really exciting.
Okay. And if people want to find you, connect with you on social media, where would they go?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and just recently I got a Twitter. All of it you can find it under Leyla Pirnie. My name is kind of hard to spell, but the last name is Pirnie. And I will be so honest, I don't understand this whole Twitter thing. So if you ever see me post a tweet that just doesn't make sense, just ignore it, because I don't know what I'm doing over here with the retweets and the everything else.
All right. Well, Leyla, we thank you so much for coming on, and hope we get a chance to speak with you again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, this is Antonia Okafor with Empowered, and you are listening to Trend Chat with Brian.
Yep, and thanks to Leyla for joining us. And like I said, she is now the Texas State Chair for Empowered, and you just heard from Antonia there. And so yeah, thanks again for Leyla for joining us. And here we are at the end of 2019, and we also have a new Star Wars movie coming out. Now, I guess if you notice, we didn't do a long episode or 2 or 3 as we did in the past on Star Wars. We just didn't have time. Well, just it didn't come together quick enough, and I didn't forget, but it just I know the last time we did like multiple episodes, because I get someone on, we talk about Star Wars, and we go on and on and on. And actually what you hear on the podcast is almost half of what we talk about, because I don't want to go too long. But anyway, Rise of Skywalker comes out. As you're hearing this, it is out. It's Friday. And Friday, December 20th. And well, we plan on seeing it. Right now, we're in Cincinnati on our way to Wisconsin later today, and who knows if I get to a movie theater, that I can park at. There's a lot of complications that kind of go into it when you're driving a truck to go to a movie theater or whatever, and all of that. There's a number of things you have to factor in and all that. And where I'm going, if I was going to go, I had to find a theater, then they had to let me park there and all of that. And if I could park there overnight, it's a lot. It's not just me just pulling up and going in. So hopefully sometime this weekend we'll go. Now, notice on Rotten Tomatoes, which is one of those sites that calculate the score according to the critics and how they see it, and if they think it's good, then it's fresh. And over a number of critics, then they put out a score, and as of right now, it is at 50-something%. At least last time I checked, it was at like 57%. So that means that a little more than half like Rise of Skywalker, at least. Now, so that means that it's mixed, but it also doesn't even come close to what the critics thought of Last Jedi, which came out in 2017. Now, the fun thing about that is that the critics loved Last Jedi. It was up in the 90s, high 90s for critics. But the fans, people like myself, didn't like it as much. Now, I said fans like myself. Now, me personally, I didn't have that much of an issue with Last Jedi. There were some things that I didn't care for, but I didn't outright hate it. I can watch it again. My main criticism was there one scene in the middle where you had Finn and Rose, you have to know about Star Wars to get these names. I'm not going to get into all trying to describe it all, but if you know, you know. So there's a scene where Finn and Rose go to this casino world and whatever like that, and all of that, I felt it was unnecessary, and it just didn't need to be there. But I felt that the director himself, Rian Johnson, I think him, and not just him, there's plenty of other people who wanted to, get their social justice warrior on and show the evils of capitalism and blah, 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 and wanted to use that as an analogy for that. So I felt that, and also on top of, what, if I go down this route, we'll be on for another hour. So that being said, I don't hate it, but there were just some things I don't like. Anyway, a lot of people really didn't like Last Jedi. So, and it's not like it bombed at the box office. It did well. But now you're seeing the critics not be in love with Rise of Skywalker. So I'm thinking, is it going to be the other way around for the audience? Are fans going to love it then? Is it going to be one of those cases where, so if you look at Last Jedi, it says 90%, over 90%, fresh for critics, and 50 or 40 something percent for the audience. So it's going to be the other way around this time, with it being around 57 now for critics, and the audience is going to be in the 80s or 90s. So I don't know. We'll see. Because one thing about Rotten Tomatoes in particular, they don't let you score the movie until the movie is out in theaters, which actually makes makes sense to me. But it's just something they changed back when Captain Marvel came out, because before you were able to, leave some sort of score even before the movie comes out, which actually doesn't make sense. So, but it was also a response to when Captain Marvel came out. It was already at a low score, and the movie hasn't came out yet. And so, to protect Captain Marvel and just Marvel in general, they changed it to what they have now, which, like I said, it makes sense. I don't know why you would judge a movie off that you haven't even seen at all. I could see maybe watch the trailer and say oh, I don't think this is for me, but just to outright just said, no, this movie's trash. How you know? You ain't even seen it yet. And okay, maybe if it's not your type of movie, maybe, but if it's something that you normally watch, like a Marvel movie, and then all of a sudden you just, from the trailer, you just make a definitive statement that this movie is, I'm not going to like it at all. I mean, yeah, but I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that can find something good in pretty much anything I watch. So it's not too much that I'm just going to just outright trash. There's a couple movies that I can just say, this kind of going off a little bit, but this is the last episode, so whatever. But for last episode for 2019, not ever, but the last episode for this year. So I'm not gonna be back for a couple of weeks. I guess I'll get this little rant out. I don't leave movies at all. Like when I go to the theater, I hear from a lot of people where they'll go to a movie and if they don't like it, they'll just leave, right? Or, in the middle of the movie. And like I said, I'm one of those people, I can find something enjoyable in whatever. I don't care if it's like a rom-com or just whatever. If I'm going to the movies with someone else that's watching a movie that I normally wouldn't see, I can still get something out of it and or whatever. But there is one movie, and all the times I've been going to the movies, that I just said, no, I cannot finish watching this. This movie is too bad that I can't sit here. Like I felt like I was just really, where a lot of people say a lot of times where they're just wasting their time. Like I felt like, okay, I just can't stay here. This is too bad of a movie. And the name of that movie is called Red Line. Now, if you don't know what that is, good for you. So, but if you look it up, it's a knockoff of Fast and Furious, basically. And it's with Eddie Griffin, and I forget who else is in it. But that is a bad movie, especially after watching something like Fast and Furious or something like that. And so it was just horrible. Kind of going back to where if I could find something I can like in that movie. I mean, some of the driving sequences are okay. Some of the driving sequences are okay. But like I said, in comparison to Fast and Furious, it's like so subpar. So anyway, enough of the rant. I just want to mention about that because, like I said, by the time we come back in January, well, I'm guessing Star Wars will still be in theaters, but I'm guessing we're probably not going to give like a review of it. Might post about it a little bit on social media. Speaking of that, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. Oh yeah, I forgot that one. At TrendChat 24/7. So I appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate Leyla for joining us also. So until next year, we'll see you. Well, we'll see you on, I don't know. It might be the first week. I really don't know. But so we'll be back next year with all those candidate interviews, like I mentioned. And just thank you for listening to all these, all these episodes and for 2019. So to 2020, we'll chat with you later.